And welcome to this Encore MotorAge interview with Nathan Scripps, General Manager for MotoREV, the online marketing platform within MOTOSHOP Technology Tools. I enjoyed our previous conversation so much that I invited Nathan back to talk about how auto repair shops can leverage car care awareness. Before we get started, I would like to direct you to our first interview. Just go to YouTube and type in attracting and retaining customers with coupons. You'll be glad you did that. Again, that's attracting and retaining customers with coupons. All right, welcome Nathan, and if you're ready, let's get started.
Great, thanks for having me back, Larry, and I look forward to talking this time too.
All right, first question. This month is Fall Care Month because it's that time of the year that consumers are thinking about preparing their vehicles for winter. What specific actions should shops should they take advantage of this opportunity? How do they take advantage of this opportunity? It's right in their wheelhouse. It's fall, winter is on. So what can they do? And if you can give us some specific examples, that would be great.
Sure. So with Car Care Awareness Month, you have carcare.org working hard and spending a lot of big brand dollars just to get awareness up in general about taking care of that vehicle. So I would recommend a couple specific things. First is really be aware yourself in the shop and with your staff to make this part of your talk track. Right? When people come in, you should understand, hey, did you know that it's Car Care Awareness Month and that we're trying to make people more ready for winter, right? This whole it's fall, winter's coming. They might have seen a TV commercial. They might have seen the Car Care Awareness Month advertisement somewhere. Make it part of your conversation, because if a customer says yes, then they're teed up to spend more money on a specific set of services, which is generally, getting ready to winter, check your brakes, check things that are going to be necessary to go on and last out this harsher climate. A lot of people don't realize that big swings in temperature will affect their battery in different ways. A lot of people don't realize that big swings in temperature might make those rubber hoses and belts that are showing micro cracks right now, those might expand with the big fluctuation in temperature. So that's a great area that you can educate your customer, and they might have been primed for that education because of this big brand spend that the car care aware folks have done. So leverage that, make it part of your conversation. Like, hey, thanks for coming in. Are you aware it's Car Care Awareness Month? Basically, it's a big national drive to get cars and people ready for winter so that you don't get stranded on the side of the road. By the way, the things that would strand somebody, those rubber hoses and belts, because of the changes in temperature, are going to fluctuate more. Because of the changes in temperature, those batteries need to have higher charges at all times, because you don't want to go out in the morning, you're de-icing your windshield, and all of a sudden you can't turn it over. Like, these are the conversations you can have, and certainly it's different in Florida than Maine, but all the interim climates where you're on the belt line of the United States, maybe you have a bunch of uneducated audiences, and it'd be a good way to upsell that battery because they actually need one. It'd be a good way to upsell the serpentine belt replacement a little bit sooner, just because you don't want it to go out and get snapped in January. So I think the first specific thing I'd say is make your shop and your staff more aware to talk about car care awareness. There are marketing things you can do to kind of dovetail on this big brand marketing spend. Something we don't do today as MotoREV, it's search engine marketing. Basically, you pay Google, Yahoo, or Bing to get your particular website link shown on a particular search term. Now you can localize that. So if you're savvy, if you want to, you can go and set up an account with a credit card. You can localize your search to 10 miles, 25 miles, whatever, and you can actually pay for car care awareness or car care for a specific time period in that specific geography. And for a couple of bucks, you might drive a few more people to your site. Now that's a specific thing, again, that we don't necessarily do. But if you have an SEM provider, or if you yourself are an SEM savvy shop, go on and do a geographically local search on this term that's getting big brand dollars nationally. There's no harm in dovetailing that to your own store. And then a third specific thing, number 3, that we do offer. As part of MotoREV, you do get a monthly newsletter that's complimentary, it's included, it's professionally written. All of the articles are going to be seasonally relevant, which includes getting your car ready for winter. We are going to help you educate that customer to know that serpentine belts might break more often, that batteries can die due to fluctuations in temperature, that having your tires properly inflated is going to help you avoid those black ice skids or things like that. So we're going to go in and help you educate that customer before they show up, because if they can be a little more educated, it's been our experience, they spend a lot more money. All of a sudden, it's not you saying, hey, instead of just replacing your pads, you need to turn the rotors. They're educated of this much that, hey, should I rotate my tires right now? Do I need to turn my rotors? And then you can say, actually, yes. And now it's not you presenting the upsell. If you can educate your customer to ask for the upsell, everything works a bit better. So 1, educate your staff. Make sure your staff is aware of and talking about car care awareness. 2, if you are SEM savvy and you have an SEM provider, go in and dovetail those big national brands. And 3, if you have a service like MotoREV that has an ongoing monthly newsletter, make sure that seasonally relevant content is educating the customer to ask for the upsell instead of you having to upsell it.
Well, those are great points. And actually, I see a lot of application. Rather than me talk about them, I'm going to ask you the question. I'm sure you're familiar with the Car Care Council and what they suggest doing, during the car care months, which are now October and April. They suggest putting on, special events, retailers and shops teaming up and other businesses in the automotive business coming together, a couple times a year, at their location or at some other location, but sponsored by, the aftermarket folks coming together. Using your 3 points there, can you apply that to, a special event?
Sure. So off the top of my head, because I would say MotoREV, being part of MOTOSHOP, that is owned by Advance Auto Parts, I would say team up with somebody like that. So if you're an independent service repair center, you can host an educational seminar, because again, if you can educate a customer this much, they're likely to spend this much more. So if you host an educational seminar, how to change your own battery, for instance. They got to buy the battery somewhere. Maybe they buy it from Advance. Maybe they buy it from your independent repair center. But by educating the consumer on how to do something like that, maybe they say, I can do that on my own. Thank you for teaching me. I'll reward you with future business because I know you're honest. Or maybe they'll say, wow, that's too hard for me to do. I don't want to do that. I'll trust you to do it for me, and I know you're honest about it because you told me I could just do it myself, but I'm choosing not to. So really you're either being rewarded by being that nice, honest mechanic that they want you to be, and maybe they do something small somewhere else, and you're rewarded because they believe in you implicitly now, or they're rewarding you by saying, oh, thanks for making me aware that that's more complex than I want to deal with. I'll have you do it next time I think about it. So educational seminars are really good, and the idea that you can team up with one of your current existing partners. So Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest should be viewed as a partner resource, not necessarily just that company you call to get brake pads. So if you talk to your local representative, in Advance Auto Parts we call them the CAMs, the commercial account managers. You probably know who they are. They've probably stopped by, and you probably have their phone number. Talk to them about something that your local retail store might be willing to help you do, right, at your independent repair center. Or you could have guys show up in your uniform, like in the uniform of your local repair center, and you could help Advance do the same thing. So if Advance is going to have a parking lot expo, why not have a local repair center show up in their blue shirt and say, no, we work with Advance, they're a partner of ours. All of a sudden, your independent repair center is now married to this big giant brand, and it creates this idea that, oh, you have this big money thing behind you. I trust you more because you have access to all this stuff. So I don't really, me personally, I don't really mind if it's Advance helping you at your store or if it's you helping Advance at their store. The end goal is the same. If you can educate your customer a little bit, they're going to reward you by spending a lot more over time because you're building trust. You're not hiding information. You're not hiding how to do something. You're not hiding how hard it is to change a serpentine belt. That's actually a really tough job, but when you casually say, oh, a belt needs to be replaced, it sounds really easy. And if I'm a layperson who knows nothing about my engine, oh, a belt needs to be replaced, and you're charging me how much? I'm going to go get a second opinion. But if they know because you've helped educate them, like, hey, we need to replace your serpentine belt, it's basically the one piece of rubber that drives your air conditioning compressor, it drives your fan belt, it drives this, that, and the other. And to replace it, we have to take a few things off of your front end, we have to pull the engine. All of a sudden, you're being honest. You're not misleading them in any way, but you're kind of framing that conversation with education. A little bit of education, a lot more spend.
No, you're right, and it works both ways. For it helps, the store obviously, and for those that get educated in the process, they can also choose, to go to the retailer's customer. So in this case, as your example, Advance's customer. So no, that's excellent for the consumer having that choice. All right. Let's move on a little bit here then. As we know, the car care months are in the fall and the spring. They can be really great for business, but how would you suggest driving similar results the other 10 months? As effective as those programs are, during these months, they can really be great for business if people, take advantage of it. They can't be considered a comprehensive marketing program by any stretch of the imagination. So the other 10 months.
Absolutely. So historically, the aftermarket repair business has been kind of a boom or bust, right? Kind of a spike or flatline business. The fall and the spring car care driven big national pushes kind of create two really big spikes. And we talked a few minutes ago about how you can capitalize on that spike when there's all this money in the water. But yeah, you have to level it out, right? You can't have 2 months out of the year pay your mortgage. So you need to be able to level that business out and be predictable. So in our last talk, as you referenced at the beginning of this call, if you want to go look at that, I talked a lot about some of the tactics and tools we use to smooth out your business over time. But I'm going to do a different spin on that. The same thing is that you really want to have consistent inbound new customers. You want to have consistent return visitors. You want them to be on cycle. You don't really want business on the 1st and 15th, right? We all know, hey, business is slow. Let's send out 1,000 postcards on Thursday and have a big weekend, right? We know how to create artificial spikes. And we don't really want to do that. Whether those spikes are twice a year or twice a month, we're still relying on spike-based business. So if there's a few things you can do to smooth these things out and realize that customers themselves are not looking to fix their car on the 1st and 15th. They're not looking to fix their car once in fall and once in spring. There are artificial communications that we're putting out there that teach them to do this. Again, a little education, a lot of money, right? So if we're artificially teaching them to fix their car in fall, and we're artificially teaching them to fix their car in spring, and then take it down to a monthly level, we're artificially saying, come cash in on this deal on the 1st, come cash in on this deal on the 15th. We're creating these spikes. So when we realize that people want to fix their car when they think their car needs to be fixed, that means they're searching for a place to service on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever day of the month it might be. So on that day of the month, you still need to be relevant, and you still need to educate them on why your shop matters. So I would argue that the best way to educate your audience to give you that first shot to spend $1 is to have lots of positive reviews online, because that's where people are looking to educate themselves about your shop. They're sitting at work, it's 1 p.m., they just got back from lunch, they're not really ready to get back into the groove of things and really work the rest of the day, but they know they have to change their oil pretty soon. So they're going to sit there at their office, at their desk, and they're going to go to Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever, and they're going to look for oil change Atlanta. They're going to research, they're going to educate themselves on where to go in their free time coming up this weekend or their free time coming up tomorrow. So like they're trying to educate themselves. So I would argue that the fastest, easiest way to educate that unknown prospect is to have lots of your current customers sharing positive experiences, so you have this social proof. You have this audience saying, trust these people, they do good work, I give them 5 stars, and here's why. And who knows, one of the reasons you get 5 stars might be because you showed somebody how to change their own battery, and they gave you 5 stars because you're an honest mechanic, and they really love the idea that you teach people how to do stuff. But then, in fact, that's what you get paid to do. So it's this idea that as long as you're transparent and educating your customer, they will reward you in a lot of ways. It's easy to say a little education, a lot of dollars, but it's also nice to say, a little transparency, a lot of stars. Because if you get a lot of 5-star reviews, that person who searches for you on the 3rd is going to be like, wow, they have 478 5-star reviews. Of course I'm going to take my car there. Because the option, the other guy, maybe they have no reviews at all. Maybe they have 25 reviews. Maybe they have 2 reviews on Google and 5 reviews on Yelp, but no reviews on their own website. So first and foremost, you need to have as high a review count, averaging as high a star count as possible on your own website. Because even if customers go to Google, Yelp, Yahoo, Angie's List, whatever, all of those sites link to your particular shop website. And if they're going to go to your shop website before they come to you, make sure the best story, the best education, the best social proof exists right there. So
Okay.
focus on getting positive reviews and putting them on your website first.
Okay, let me just interrupt you. I hate to break your train of thought there, because it's a really good train that's moving here. But just a real pressing question. A lot of shops out there are kind of afraid of online reviews. Yeah, they know they're going to get some good ones, but what they're afraid of, is getting, somebody out there, maybe more than one person, for whatever reason, did not like their service. So, how do we convince those shops, to get over that?
Sure. First, I would say that those shops are absolutely right in their emotion, right? It's their feeling that Yelp site, I kind of hate it. I have 2 bad reviews on there. They've been sitting there for 2 years. I don't have time to figure it out. It's not uncommon to hear that story. I've heard that story a whole lot. That's why it's important to realize that high volume matters, because you don't want 2 reviews to define your shop. You service a whole lot more than 2 customers day in, day out. So how are you going to let 2 reviews really define who you are? So I would say don't be scared of reviews in general, because there's a low number of potentially negative reviews sitting around out there. It's something you should be excited about. You should want to get a more accurate picture, and the only way to get accurate picture is to have a high review count. Now, since we know that there's this knee-jerk reaction, I don't want to deal with reviews, something MotoREV is able to do, something we talked about last time a little bit, MotoREV is able to pull every receipt out of your point of sale, your shop management system, and if we can ask every customer via email, hey, how'd it go? And we've seen, the numbers are real for us, that we've seen 15 to 20% are willing to share how it went. That means if you service 100 cars a month, we can get you 20 reviews a month. Now, if we have 20 reviews, it drowns out those 2, right? So we don't have to be scared of those 2 anymore. If we're getting 20 reviews a month, or even 20 reviews a week, volume no longer matters. So then you got to worry about quality. I don't want 20 one-star reviews going out there. That's terrible. That actually is going to ruin me. What we have seen is that 9 out of 10 reviews are actually positive, very positive, in fact. Because by and large, the reason you are still in business as a shop is because you deliver good service. You fix cars, you fix them quickly, you're honest with your customers, you shake their hands, they know who you are. You do a good job. The reason there are negative reviews floating out there is because you do a good job with them in person with their car. Leave it to a company like MotoREV or a product like MotoREV to follow up after the fact and do a good job of asking how it went and do a good job of the communication email side of it, because that's what we do. Now, the reason those negative reviews float out there, the reason people go to Yelp in the first place is mainly because of one thing. Every customer walks into your shop with an expectation. They carry it with them. That expectation is theirs, and it might be a $30 30-minute oil change. That's what they're expecting to do on their lunch break, right? Now, if they're expecting a $30 30-minute oil change and they walk out 3 hours later with a new set of brake pads, their rotors have been turned, and you replace their windshield wipers, they just spent $300. Now, $30 30 minutes, $300 3 hours. Even if you did an amazing job, their expectation was wildly different than their real experience. So if you did an amazing job, that person is probably going to go and leave you a very positive review. But if that person is just confused about why they spent $300 in 3 hours instead of $30 in 30 minutes, they're probably going to go leave you a bad review. Most bad reviews are the result of expectation not matching experience. Because if I'm really happy when I leave, I'll probably tell somebody maybe. But if I'm really, really unhappy, if I'm really upset, I'm definitely going to tell somebody. So that's why you see those small number of negative reviews that just kind of float there forever, is because the experience occasionally isn't going to match the expectation, and we have to be okay with that. So one of the things our platform does is it gives people that very quick, that very short survey, like, hey, how'd it go? If they want to share, they do. Most of them are positive. But a few people, 1 out of 10, they want to vent. They want to tell you it was completely awful. They want to tell you the experience didn't match their expectation at all. And by giving them a place to vent that you control, you get to have the information to go and fix it. It's not going to go straight to Yelp. It's not going to go straight to Google. You didn't let that person stay upset long enough that they felt the only course of retaliation was to go tell the internet that you're bad. You gave them the opportunity. You emailed them, or we emailed them for you, rather, and we said, hey, how'd it go? I'll tell you how it went. It was awful, and here's why. By giving them that outlet, you give yourself the opportunity to bring back experience and expectation and kind of meet it in the middle and provide a good customer experience again. The tagline I like to use for our particular platform, we want you to fix customer issues privately before they post publicly. That's why a key part of our program, a key part of our platform, is this email exchange. As soon as somebody gives you a negative review, a 1-star review, we say thanks, and we hold it offline for about a week. We communicate with the shop and say, hey, you're averaging 4.7 stars over the past 30 days, but here's a 1-star review. And then we provide in that email and in our online admin system the customer information, the repair order number, the vehicle that was serviced, and the customer comments, so you as a shop get to determine how to provide the customer experience they may have expected. If it's something minor, you could wait till the next day, talk to the service tech, get your facts straight, and then go and try to do something for them. But if it's something major, if you realize that this person is really upset and it really might damage your business in the future, you're getting an email on your phone. You could hit their phone number and talk to them in minutes. Hey, Mrs. Customer, I understand you're upset. My name is Nathan Scripps from Nathan's Garage. I want to make sure that everything goes perfect. And start a conversation. fix that experience privately before it posts publicly. Because right now, everybody's correct. They're a little concerned that the only reviews out there are very public, and for a very few of them, they're very negative. So that's why we like high volume, high positives. If they're negative, fix privately before posting publicly.
Well, is there anything that in a negative situation that maybe would have been the fault of the shop and they need to correct it? Is there anything that you recommend the shop should actually offer that customer? Would that be, some free service at some point, or free oil change? What specifically
Sure.
would you offer?
So I think there's two, for me anyway, my most frequent results of this. I talk to a lot of shop owners about how to handle these reviews and what they should do. The two biggest outcomes that I see, one is internal, meaning you need to fix some process at the shop, and one is external, meaning you need to offer the customer something different. Internally, the process is usually pretty simple. A customer leaves, they have a $300 bill in their hand, and they're not really sure what all was included. So making sure that if the estimate you do up front ends up changing over the course of that job, because it's not uncommon, right? You go and you get an estimate that says it's going to take you an hour and it'll be $100, and then once you pull off a part or pull off a tire or really get in there, you see a bunch more rust, and all of a sudden the brake lines have to get exchanged as well, and the ticket grows, right? There's a lot of shops realize that their process breaks down during the actual job. The estimate goes well, and the checkout kind of goes well, but during the actual job, there seems to be this kind of lack of communication to the customer, so that they leave with this big bill and they know they have to pay it, but they don't really know what all was included in it. So fixing some process about communication is one of the most common internal changes that you'll see as a result of getting high volume, near real-time reviews. And then the second thing, what to do for customers, the most common things I see, customers get upset because they presented an offer that was expired, or they feel like they were overcharged for services that they didn't quite understand, or it's usually around money and time. That's really it. They either spent too much money or it took too much time. Sometimes both. So what I've seen a lot of shops do is they'll say, hey, I understand that we didn't offer that coupon, or we didn't honor that coupon for you, or you feel like you were overcharged. How about this? Here's my name, here's my number. You don't need to have a coupon, you don't need to have an offer. Just reference me the next time you come in, and you'll get, $50 off, labor. They basically will do an hour's worth of work for free for you because, I want you to feel comfortable with what we do. So something like that, where you can give them a discount on their future service, not necessarily give them money back on the current one. The idea here, again, is to drive a repeat business, drive a repeat visit, drive that I'm going to trust this company, I'm going to trust them a long time, I want to be loyal. And you can't really teach somebody to be loyal if all you're doing is apologizing for your mistakes with money. So I don't recommend, oh, I'm sorry, we overcharged you for the work we know we were supposed to do to your car, here's all your money back. That's not necessarily the way to go, because you did the right thing. If their brake lines were rotted out, you needed to replace them. Their car was unsafe otherwise. If they feel overcharged, you should be okay with that because you know they're safe. I'm okay being the bad guy if it actually means something good for the other person. But if you get a chance to talk to them and say, hey, I want you to know why we charge you this much money. I want you to know that we could not let your car leave without it being safe on the road. Now, if you want to give us a second chance, I want to give you a discount. I want to give you $50 or $100 off your next major mechanical service because I want to make sure that that car stays safe on the road. It's not about you. It's not about your business. It's not about your company. It's about that customer, that customer's car, and the things that that customer is carrying inside their car. Themselves, their children, their life, right? I'm not a huge fan of giving away the current service. It's not a great way to say I'm sorry, is to throw money at it. But to explain it more fully, educate a little, you can earn a lot.
Very good suggestions indeed. Um, okay, that other 10 months that we've been talking about, and what you have suggested so far, some really very good suggestions. What other arrows do you have in your quiver there, marketing wise,
Sure.
that you would recommend? Maybe one or two more major ones that you feel that are just a must if
Mhm.
maybe a shop doesn't have a big budget, but they got to do certain things during those other 10 months.
Right. So first, we've already talked about the value of lots of positive reviews, because you don't know when people are going to search for you. It could be midnight on a Thursday. It could be 1:30 on a Tuesday. It's probably not going to be the 1st and 15th. So have lots of positive reviews at the ready whenever they want to find them. Now, second, you need to make sure that those reviews exist on your website, which means you have to have a website. I think right now the stat is something like half of independent service repair centers or really don't have a website at all or aren't happy with the way their website exists. So that's a big number two, if not really number one. Have a website. You have a sign out front for a reason. You want to present something that your audience can see. And if most of your audience is looking digitally, you need to have a digital sign, which is your website. MotoREV offers a website-only service. It's not super expensive. It's not super crazy. I'm not gonna lie. In many ways, it's not the best site in the world, because the best site in the world costs 10 grand up front and $1,000 a month to host. Our site is $0 down and $50 a month. For that price, you get a really clean, really modern, technically correct, very cool website that gives your customers the little bit of education they need to feel comfortable to come in and spend their money. It's going to host all those positive reviews. It's going to host the online garage and the retention tools we talked about last time. For $50 a month, like it's really, really good, and it's less expensive than most people think, because as you mentioned, Larry, a lot of shops operate on a small budget. So if number one is reviews and number two is having a website, and you could do those interchangeably. I would say number three is making sure you extend the conversation beyond the service bay. I mentioned a few minutes ago that the reason our shops are getting so many positive reviews, 9 out of 10 being positive, is because they're presenting an amazingly positive experience in person. They know a lot of customers by name. They're honest about what services they're providing. They get services done quickly, right? So they're doing all the right things at the shop, in the service bay, with the customer. You need to make sure as a shop that you have a cost-effective way to communicate beyond the service bay on a regular cadence with all of your customers. And it sounds big, and it sounds daunting, and it sounds expensive. First, you need to make sure it's through email, because email is way less expensive than postcards. You need to make sure that it's automated, because that takes a lot of time out of the process for you. I know that most repair shops are full of busy, busy people, so make sure it's automated in some serious way. And you need to make sure that it's smart, meaning it talks to you and tells you how much money it's making you, and there's reporting available. And I think if you look at MotoREV's shop marketing program, a little more expensive than our website, but the shop marketing program is affordable, automated, connected to your shop data, and it tells you how it's doing. It gives you reporting to make you comfortable about the money it's actually making you. And the whole job here is to communicate effectively and consistently with your customers beyond the service bay. So, number one, reviews. Get them. Don't be scared of them. Number two, have a website. Make sure you have a place to put those good reviews to educate your customer before they come in. Number three, make sure you have a way to communicate at scale, frequently, with those customers after they leave your really good experience in-house. Those three things, done right, you will have consistent business 12 months a year. You will not be beholden to the spikes created in the fall and spring. You will not be beholden to the spikes created on the 1st and 15th. You actually can have a very consistent, very loyal customer base, and all the while using those positive experiences to attract new business whenever that new business wants to find you.
Ultimately, it's the shop. That's their brand and their reputation we're talking about, and they got to be able to promote that year round. Nathan, any other thoughts before we go on any other marketing?
Selfishly, I've enjoyed this conversation, and I really hope there's a chance for a third. But parting thoughts, we are moving into the winter months, and that's going to mean something very different for different parts of the country. And no matter where you are, I would highly advise training your staff, have the conversation about the weather. It means something different everywhere. In the Northeast, it means salted roads and potholes are coming up. In the Southeast, it means you're going to have flash storms, and you might see hail. My parents in Alabama have seen hail a lot lately. In the desert, lowland areas, it's going to mean flash flooding. Weather means something very different for every region, and winter is generally when you're going to see the weirdest weather. So make that part of the intake process. Hey, do you want to make sure that your car is absolutely ready for pothole season? Pothole season? What do you? I mean, winter in the Northeast. Like, do you want to check your shocks and struts right now because they're about to get, your car is about to get rocked, or wait for the other side and do the exact same conversation. Hey, how'd pothole season treat you? Let's make sure we look at your shocks and struts right now because chances are you hit more holes than you used to, right? So make sure weather is a part of that conversation. And this isn't something to do for the winter. This is something you can absolutely do seasonally and year-round. Because, summer means hotter weather, sure, but it also means lots of air conditioning usage. It also means different stuff for different regions. So have the conversation about the weather because, one, it's the easiest and most generic conversation to have. Hey, how's the weather? And two, it absolutely applies in specific ways to that vehicle that the driver might not realize. Educate a little, earn a lot.
Well, I'm in Northeast Ohio, so I know what you're talking about because we're facing another cruel winter, I'm sure, or that's what they're predicting. But, well, this is really great stuff, Nathan. Really appreciate your time and your valuable insight today. But before we go, why don't you tell our viewers how they can find out more about MotoREV?
Absolutely. So MotoREV, as mentioned, is the marketing arm of MOTOSHOP Technology Tools. We are a software-as-a-service platform available from Advanced Auto Parts. If you want to learn more, please go to www.motoshop.com. That is M-O-T-O-S-H-O-P. www.motoshop.com. Okay,
well, that's great. And thanks again, Nathan. I'm sure that we will have the opportunity to speak again, to your point earlier. And thanks to our viewers for joining us today. This is Larry Silvey for MotorAge.